Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our paediatric training session. My name's Alice. You'll probably just hear me, not see me. But in our training studio today, we've got Amanda, and we've also got Judith, who are going to be delivering the training today. If you could add any questions, we encourage questions. So anything you've got, no questions too silly. Just add it in the chat. If it's something that I feel would be better if Amanda spoke more on, then I'll hold it until she's ready for questions. If not, I'll just answer them as we go. But yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you and good morning, everybody. Like Alice said, I'm Amanda Jenkins and I've been with Silvalea 22 years. During that time, I've learned a lot about slings and their suitability. So today we have got a selection of paediatric slings, popular ones for Silvalea, and we'll show you those, talk about those. Please, any questions regarding each one, talk to us and we will try and answer your questions. We want to make it as interactive as possible and as useful as possible. And my colleague Judith will also be assisting. But we've got some very helpful information that we can share with you so that you've got things to refer to after the session. And first, Alice, would you kindly bring up the Sling Selector poster? So this is a poster of all our products that are available on the website. So everything is just a little thumbnail of each of our products there. They're in families, so you can see line 1 is all the straight leg type designs. Line 2 is the deluxe, etc. But on line 9 are the most popular paediatric slings, which we're going to look at a selection of these this morning. But these are often requested, and we know their suitability, which we will share with you. So this is the plan. We've got lots of other information on the website, which we will show you as we go. But if we can kindly, Alice, come back to me and we'll start. So I know with paediatrics, it's slightly different to general adults. So we have a few sort of specific products for them. However, even though we're saying that they can just be for children, they could be available in all sizes. But the first one is a little waistcoat. So this is, we call it a walk assist, and it's a little waistcoat with handles on. So this is for someone that needs a little bit of steadying. So if they've got unpredictable movement, it's just a lightweight waistcoat with the handles positioned. So rather than having, to grab their arms or clothing, to reduce that hands-on, we've got this lightweight jacket. Popular, for various reasons. I think we can see it's a lightweight mesh. It does have little zips at the side that you can turn around this way, undo if you've got thicker outer clothing on, or close up. You need to have it tighter. So just a little expander jacket there and a front zip fastening there. So more details on the website if you need it, but this is the walk assist. We okay with that, Alice?
Yep, all okay.
Okay, that's the first one. Okay, thank you, Judith. The next couple I've got are some harnesses. We know that harnesses are widely used with children. They do lots of things, don't they? Help to stand, which we know is very important to get somebody upright for their well-being, etc. So we've got a couple that we know have worked very well. The first one is our Rachel harness. We'll just show you the details on the website that you can look at later, but it shows everything. We've got a little model there, and you can scroll through the images to see the principle of the harness. Photographs. So it's a lightweight, it's a little jacket that's put on with a groin strap. So very lightweight and easy to put on. But if we look at the data sheet, so the information that's available, data sheet, sizing guides, instructions of use, but this is a complete sort of little summary of the harness. It will give you washing temperature, standard sizes, where to measure, which will help you determine size. Often if you find that you fall between sizes, just talk to us and we will help you with selection. It can be a little bit confusing as to know which size to go with, but you know, please, we'll always help if you're not sure. But this information is readily available. Thanks, Alice. Thank you. So looking at the harness, I've just got one here. As I said, it's a lightweight jacket made in mesh. It's got the groin sections here. It's put on like a waistcoat and zipped up. Or if you find you've got a problem with getting arms in, maybe you've got contracted arms, we now have a top opening at the shoulders on little thumb clicks there. So you can undo those to effectively put it on like a tabard. Then you bring this underneath. You can put it on in a chair. Certainly, you know, it just slides around and then clicks in. And then the tapes are detachable. So originally this was made for a toddler, able-bodied toddler, whose mum didn't have strength to lift them into their buggy or high chair. So Dad would put the little jacket on, and then when needed, Mum would clip on the hoisting straps and then hoist them up. So it started its life like that, and then we introduced it, and lots of special schools now have this because it helps to support somebody while carrying activities out. For example, if we've got one here, maybe positioned with a desk so they can carry out their activities rather than all their efforts taken to sitting up, because with the hoist placed behind, it's a mobile or overhead, then it can support somebody enough so that they can then carry out their activity rather than all their energy taking on keeping themselves upright. So it's quite useful for many things. We've also supplied it to help with natural patterns on the floor, play activities, encouraging kneeling, high kneeling and standing. So reducing handling. So that's the principle mostly for harnesses, to help reduce handling. Good morning, we've just had a new viewer. If you wouldn't mind, please, could you turn your camera off? Thank you very much. So we're just looking at the Rachel harness. There's some little padded rolls underneath the arm for comfort, and the groin section now has got padding, so for comfort also. But if you've got someone that's sort of able to wait there and stand, you could then transfer them to the toilet and unclip the groin section for hygiene transfers there. So a very useful type of little jacket. I know it's also been used for hydro purposes as well. But the other thing we have on the harness, let me just take this one and show you. The tapes are detachable. So I'll just take this one back and stand them. So the tapes can, you know, they can be taken off, but there is a hook at the hip. Let me just zoom in a bit. I've got the ability to do that now. See if we can get that a bit closer for you guys. So tape here at the hip is there, and they are, as I said, they come off there. But if we need to get someone into a prone position, we can adjust the sliders tighter or looser and help to get them into a prone over a wedge, or if you're lowering them down. So that's what the hip tapes are. But I have to say, mostly they are detached and not used. But that is the principle of a hip tape, and it will be supplied with that hip tape. All the tapes are on sliders here. You've got a slider adjuster so that you can adjust to the required. Make sure I've got it nice and clear for you. Adjust them to the required length. And there is a D-ring or a bar at the top, and that's so that if I extend this fully, I don't lose my loop there. So that's the reason we've got this little D-ring or plastic bar now. You just need to get your loop and then push that out the way. So you create your loop to hook onto the hoist. Let's just pull back a bit. So I'm just seeing if there's any questions on this, Alice, if you've can check with me if anyone needs anything else answered regarding the Rachel.
We had one question about clip fixings, which I've advised we aren't able to do, and the other is, can you use it from the floor?
So if you think about, we can lower this little model down here. If you've got somebody on the floor, and then just encouraging if they're lying. So you put the sling on, help to encourage rolling, and then turning, and then kneeling, as we said. So absolutely, floor use is ideal. So yes. Any other questions?
No, all good, Mandy. Yeah, all good.
Thank you. So yes, just thinking as I said, we do the standard sizes, and they do go up to adult size. So the only thing you've got to sort of be mindful of is you need to have enough standing height with your hoist to be able to stand them. So just remember that. So that's one of the harnesses. I'll just move it over there. And then the other harness, which has become very popular, is our Jolly Jumper. So this is the Jolly Jumper. It into the centre so we can see. Slightly different. It's a harness with a very supportive back section here. So it's got full back and head support on this one, with bones in the back section. They are removable, but they help to give much more upper body support. It clips at the back, so you have to wrap it round and then bit at the back. But just take it over here. Look. We can see these straps that come over the shoulders. So it gives a lot more upper body support here. So if you've got someone that's got more movement, unpredictable movement, needs more help with support, then this could be an option. It's very adjustable, this one. You've got little tabs to feed the tapes through. Again, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. Enter. That's a little bit more helpful. So you can see these straps here. Much clearer on the website, actually. These tapes feed through. There's a lower one as well, so it will grow with your youngster. And then these covers, comfort covers, slide over to give comfort and protect against that webbing strap. And then you've got the clump clip buckle that feeds through and connects the lower section. So a bit more of a fiddle to put on, because you need to insert it, wrap this groin section round and clip round the back. It's a bit of rolling, but it's got many advantages. You haven't got the tapes that are in front of you. So, rather than get tangled up with the Rachel harness tapes, it's all clear here, which is nice. Often used for family inclusion and things like that. bit like a baby bouncer, but you know, a nice supportive little harness there. So that's called the Jolly Jumper. If you think about baby bouncing, jumping type products, that's the reason the name has been introduced there. So any other questions on that one?
We do have one question. Can children sit in wheelchair and specialist seating in the Jolly Jumper, or do you have to remove it when not in use?
Again, that's a question that needs to be risk assessed and determined by you guys and the teams to understand the suitability of that. So it's one of those questions that we can't answer because it depends on if it's going to be too bulky. Straps, you know, you've got quite a thick buckle at the back on this one. Certainly stand him up. So you can see it's stand up here. So you'd need to work that out, I'm afraid, as to whether it would be suitable because of that. So I guess possibly sometimes they are left on. I don't know. It would really be down to the individual situation, I'm afraid. Any other questions, Alice?
We did have another question about access, but it seems to have disappeared, but I'm not sure if that's just my end, about removing the bottom half and having access.
This one, certainly. Let me just do that for you. I'll just make a bit of room and I'll get Julie just to come in and steady it for me, and I'll zoom in so that we can see. Oh, here you go. I'll just let me take up the sack a little bit. Because
We also have another question,
yeah.
Mandy, just while she zoomed in. Can you show how much seating is on the sling under the pelvis for support?
Absolutely. I'm going to take it off. So Julie, if you hold the model so we can see. So we just undo the groin section. And then the sides feed through. So
okay.
And then undo, if you undo that one for me. So let's turn him around. So that's what it looks like off. Again, the website photos are very clear. Then lying to put this one on, possibly easier. Through the groin, take the waistband section through, put it through, and then clip it round the back. So that gives the stability to the hip area. So a bit of a fiddle if you've got to undo it for hygiene. And if you've got someone with unpredictable movement, they may slip. There's not much supporting them. And then, of course, you put the shoulder straps back on. Once they've adjusted, there's lots of adjustment on these, as I said, to help with growth, things like that. So then that goes over the clipping to stabilise the trunk. Hope that answers that. Okay, Alice?
All good, thanks, Mandy.
Lovely, thank you. Right, let's just move this one out of the way. Right, so I'm just going to got somebody with their microphone on. Can you ensure you've got the microphone turned off? Bit of feedback there. Get out of the way. Just the next style I'm going to look at is.
Sorry, Mandy, just got a quick question about the covers. Do they fall off every time?
You need to lift them off to clip the harness in, so over the shoulders, and then just slide them back on. So they are removable and they will slip off, but you need to then just slot them back on once you've put the clunk click together, and then pull the sleeve down, so they will come off. So I'm going to look at now the travel light. So this is a sling in a bag, effectively. So it all tucks up neatly in a bag. It was developed for travel, lightweight, days out, holidays, planes, things like that. Can be just slotted on the back of a chair, used as a backpack there. But Jimmy, take that away, please. It is a very clever sling, and it just unravels out of the bag. The top section forms the head sling, and then it looks like a sling. Jude, if you wouldn't mind holding that. It applies like a sling. So the leg sections wrap around the femur and connect together. There's a really good video online if you want to see the principle of this. But connects together like that. So we can use it as a manual pickup. There's lots of, the tapes create the handles around the edge, which pull together and draw up. But there are pockets here where the sling tapes tuck away. If you need to hoist, then you've got the option of hoisting as well. So it's a 2-in-1. It's made in the lightweight fabric, the Superfine, which is the light mesh. Got a nice bit of give, so it hugs curvatures very well. It's a mesh fabric, so it can be used for bathing, and also it has Coolmax within the fabric. The Superfine has got this inherent Coolmax, which helps with wicking away moisture. If you've got someone that has temperature control issues, then it's a nice fabric. It's got a weight limit of 10 stone though. So with any manual products, of course, you've got to follow the guidelines, but the single layer Superfine does have a weight limit of 10 stone or 64 kilograms. With a standard sling, we can double layer it, but I'll talk about that later. But just for this product, so the Travel Light, it has a 64 kilogram weight limit. But if once it's finished, literally pull it all in, a bit like a pillowcase, and it all tucks away nice and neatly into that pocket. So if you need more information on that, then please have a look on the website. As I said, there's lots of information on there. Just clip together and closes at the top to hook on the back of the chair or to use as a backpack like that. So that is the Travel Light. Any questions on this one, Alice, that I need to answer?
No questions, Mandy.
Okay, so now we will look at some of our slings. We've got the most popular would be our In Situ Deluxe. So it's made in the Superfine, which I mentioned with the Travel Light, the nice lightweight fabric. This is a deluxe shape leg. It's a paddle leg, which will control each leg very well. I'm going to put it on Jude, if you don't mind. I'm going to bring in a chair.
Sorry, Mandy, we do have a quick question. How does the sizing compare to other slings on the Travel Light?
Okay, well, it's based on sort of a general sizing guide. You need to look, I would say they may be a little bit skimpier. Certainly, do you find that they come up smaller? So you need to, but it will enclose, it draws in the sides and will bucket that one, the person. So look on the sizing guide just to give you the dimensions to double check. But, you know, I suppose if someone's in a small maybe worth trying. We can double check that with you. Is that okay, Alice, any more?
No, all good.
So this is do you mind sitting down? This is the In Situ Deluxe. So if we need to leave a sling in for extended periods, then we need to be very careful on what we choose. Certainly, it's not straightforward. So we need to factor in lots of things: suitability, shape, the right style, the right fabric. Is it going to cause any pressure Will it be too bulky? Is it going to be too tight in a moulded chair? So there's lots of questions. So although we say this is an in situ sling, which it is, we need to also be reassured that it's going to be suitable for your scenario. So we need to really check and risk assess for suitability. But this one has got a divided leg, so we can get it in the chair. So we need to make sure we get it as far down as possible. Don't worry about the top section here. That will sort itself out when we hoist. Get it down as far as possible, and then ensure that the leg sections come around and wrap around the femur towards the back of the knee. If you don't get it down low enough, it's going to wrap around the femur too high and then bite into the groin. So it's really important to get the sling low down here and ensure that the leg paddles are wrapped around the femur area. I'm going to zoom in so we can see this. So these leg paddles they've got sit-fit fabric on both sides, so to help insert them, and they wrap around the femur like that. And then we've got this red modesty that connects the legs together. So that's the first thing. This will keep the legs together, and then we take the outside tape on the paddle and feed it through. So that is the standard way of applying this sling, and it will lift the legs and support each of the legs individually. We've got colour coding on all the tapes, so it's basically we have to work out which one is suitable. Let's try going green. I've got a tape in the middle there. I'm just going to tap that in. And then the shoulder tape. Jude's obviously being very helpful, which I know is not always the case, but I'll just put it on just for ease. I'm putting it on yellow. It is a jigsaw. Once we just get the setting, sometimes it's trial and error. I'm just going to zoom it out a bit so we can see a little bit clearer now. Important to not go too far. Make sure we've got everything clipped on. Okay. Right, let's have a look. We just turn Judith round. So, as I said earlier, this is a fabric that's got some give. It's got some slight elastication, so it will hug curvatures really well. And it's made as smooth as possible. So if it is going to be left in for extended periods, we make it and tailor it slightly differently to a standard sling so that there's less bulk. There's no handles. That's got potential for pressure, so you would need to use the edges of the sling. You can see the leg paddles are coming around towards the knee here. And if Judith was a bit active or wriggling, you've got individual support from those legs. So for more active users, challenging, it's a better shape. It will control their movement more. Particularly if we have got a hip tape here. This is an addition that's added. So on the sling, we've got these loops here. And that's so that we can provide a hip tape if you need it. And the hip tape locks up, feeds through and then locks back on itself like that. So we've got to knot it back. And they're really helpful. So a hip tape will help with weight distribution. So if you've got someone that's got painful joints and they're sinking in the sling and you need to lift the hip tape will help to do that. And when it lifts the hip, it distributes the weight and takes pressure from behind the knee. So, fragile bone, and, if you've got someone that's got real painful infantile arthritis, things like that, hip tapes can be really helpful. And they need to be adjusted on this slider to pick up at the same tension as the leg. So we don't have it, it's at the moment it's too loose. I need to take the tension away, and it will just lift that area, which is really helpful. And you just make sure you've got it tight enough, and then it will make a difference. Likewise, if you've got someone that's got like a severe scoliosis, curvature, you can adjust them slightly asymmetrically. There's nothing wrong with doing that as long as you've risk assessed. So rather than having someone holding on to someone sort of leaning out, you can adjust the tapes. So very capable of doing that, particularly with the hip tape here. So a good sling with lots of options. Now, somebody mentioned stud clip hoists. These only work on your standard loop spreader bars. So this style is only for your standard spreader bar there. Just looking at the head support here, there are full bones in the back. I'm going to take those out. Often they can be a little bit too firm and too rigid. So as long as you've got the head support attached properly through the shoulder tape here and adjusted, or directly up to the hoist, it can go directly up because we've got these loops that will find the optimum pickup position. So as long as you've got that attached, the head will then stay supported within the neck, in the head section there. Just John, just put the foot on there for it to spin. The other thing is we can provide a neck roll. I'll just show you the neck roll. Head back. So the neck roll is an addition, it's an accessory that you can then attach to the shoulder tapes like the head support there, and it will just nestle and support the neck. Sometimes a better option than having this full head support. So you could have the sling without the head support and an additional neck roll. These are good if you've got to have someone leans, you can adjust it to the side. So rather than having the full head support that can do that, or you need to get in a certain position in a more reclined position there, this is a good option. So they're neck rolls. They can also go in within the sling. If I just bring Judith round, and you put your head back, then we would then just secure the tape through the shoulder loop. It just fits on there. Once it's fitted, it can be left then, but just an idea if you need to sort of think about more comfort. This shape sling, because it's a mesh fabric, can be used for bathing as well. So you've got an option of the all-day use or extended use or bathing because it's the mesh. The single layer, as I said, is a safe working load of 64 kilograms, 10 stone. But we can double layer this fabric. So we double layer it, which stabilizes the stretch. So it means then we can increase the safe working load to 220, which is 35 stone. So single layer up to 64, double layer up to 220. The other option is the Superfine Plus, which is the spacer fabric, black spacer, which is thicker, but tend to probably start with the Superfine for children because it's lightweight and breathable. Any questions on the deluxe shape?
We do have a quick question. Somebody has said, I have a young person in the In-Situ Deluxe who has a dislocated hip and one leg is shorter than the other to the knee. Is there a way of making the leg paddles different sizes?
So you would have to then, we need to make sure we've got the measurement. So we'd have to take some measurements, do an assessment, an e-assessment, like linking up, taking the measurements. So inside leg, maybe base of spine, often base of spine, around the buttock. Let's see if we can see this. Let me just get a tape measure and show you, because hey, on Judith. So Judith, you can just hold that chair. Sorry, the hoist spins a bit. Okay. So if we're doing that, we would do it from the bed on their side in the recovery position, and we take the tape measure from the base, top of the bottom here, knobbly bit L5, base around the buttock into the knee, each side, so we can see the differential. And then we make sure that this leg paddle then has a differential length for this particular reason. So certainly it can be done, it would then obviously be tailored to that individual. But if it's significant, they've got windswept hips and they're very sort of curved, then definitely custom make it. And hip tapes will certainly help as well. Any other questions?
Nope, all good. Thanks, Amanda.
Yes, Judith just said we can add things to this. One of them was the hip tape, the neck roll, but chest supports or waist supports, they can be added, and they are usually in a channel at the back so that you can remove them. Made in a soft fabric with a little non-slip and a clunk click. And they are positioned either at the waist, so waist level, or chest under bust there, depending on the requirement. But they're useful for positioning. So if you're having the sling applied on the bed, then the carers can make sure it's in the right place by getting the waist support in the right place. They know they've got it in their the right position. The legs then are in the right place there. So often used for that reason. Also for security, feeling more secure within the sling. Positioning is dependent on what's needed. If you want to avoid a peg, maybe someone's got a bit more movement, so you want a bit higher, but you just need to tell us the location, then we can make sure we've got it in the right place for you. Sizing, again, the website has some very good sizing, and we ask for shoulder circumference. So shoulder circumference is just down from the top of the shoulders, where it's a little bit wider. You take it from the very top of the shoulders, it's narrower. So we want the fullness there, and measured with someone in a nice natural position, not all curled up, because that will make it smaller, not flailing around, because that also will affect it. But if we can get the arms in midline, then measure there. And then it's usually C7 to base of spine, or L5, top of the bottom here. So some styles we will show you that we need it from there, C7 to base. Sometimes if it's got a full head support, it will be from the top of the head to the base. So it will tell you where we've measured within the website information. So top of head is literally the crown. Again, if you've got someone that's very curled up and you measure, just put your head forward, Jude, over, then when they go back in this thing, it's going to be too long. So keep it into a nice upright position. Any problems though, we will help you through that. So that is the in situ deluxe shape. So let me do this down. Are we okay, Alice? Any questions missed?
All good, Mandy.
There are other styles, so please, this is not exhaustive. We do all-in-one style, so there's no aperture. So certainly, this is just a little selection of our most popular ones, but there are other styles as well. You need another in situ, have a look at the in situ section on the website. Thanks, Judith. Other thing I was going to show you, actually, before I finish that, just so that you know, in the superfine slings only, we'll have a mesh bag supplied. Just soft mesh bag for laundering. So we provide that with a superfine because it's more delicate. So we encourage you to use that for laundering, but only with superfine products. Right, I have an interesting thing here, which is used often for more challenging hygiene transfers. Is the Continental Easy Access. So our Continental range is a range that we make a replacement versions of slings used on the continent, strangely enough, and they're made in quite a structured fabric. So it's slightly different. This is the colour of it, very firm. This one's got foam throughout, so it's very stiff, but it will give a lot of support. So thinking about someone that's got lots of movement, active, extends, but you need to still have a good access to for a hygiene transfer, then it could be an option. Let's put it on Jude. It is easy to put on. We're only getting it to the waist or the belt line. So you're not going to have to struggle to get it too far down. And because it's so firm, it just slots in quite easily. But the fabric also has a natural sheen. So it's really quite good to get into tighter chairs. So we need to ensure we've got the thing around the trunk. So it fits around the trunk. And then we've got the tapes that cross over. Again, let me zoom in, it might help to see it more visually. So we've got the trunk section here, and then these tapes cross over to feed in on the opposite sides. So we're going to wrap it around Judith to give her maximum trunk support there. The leg sections also have foam in. And because they're not floppy, you can get them into tighter chairs and slide under the legs more easily. We do this, of course, as being very helpful. And we've got a really open chair, which is not the norm. But then we cross the legs over to keep the legs together like that. So we've got the leg section, we've got a thoracic section here, and then there's a third tape, which is a counterbalance. The arms go through that. And these counterbalance straps have sliders, so we can either recline or extend depending on positions required. So let's just hook it all up. So if someone that's very active and wriggly, then we need to perhaps try and keep them in a smaller reclined position there. Got the legs on. I'm building it from the legs up, but it will prefer the other way, it's up to you. The thoracic section here has got loop options. And again, we can tighten or loosen depending on the size of the trunk area. And then we need to make sure whatever you do, you put the counterbalance straps on last. So if you've only got a 2-point spreader bar, because that then is going to flow through if someone has got some extension or some movement there. So it needs to go on last. If you've got 3 points, of course, then you've got the outer one. Or legs. Just going to zoom out a bit. So as we just take up the snap, it's going to wrap around Judith and fit very firmly. So the scenario is we've got someone with quite low tone and perhaps lots of movement. So it's going to have to fit very firmly. If it's too tight here, we can loosen it off by loosening one of the thoracic sections there. So from the back, you can see back support, head support here, but lots of access here. So we have lots of area to get to for a hygiene. Now, Jude just extends slowly. So she's going to extend, it will allow her to do that. But if, you know, she tries to bring her knees out, twist, can you do all sorts of things? It is containing her. So, you know, you can picture that type of situation. However, it will be firm. So anyone that has got breathing difficulties or doesn't like the restriction of that, then it may not be suitable. Equally, if you've got someone that's quite shapely, it might bite in. So thinking about your athetoid CP type situations, long and lean, then that type of situation might be useful. This section here, rather than having, you know, the trunk clip, the thick waistband, is free. So for anyone that may have a peg, then that's quite good. And you know, if you can get your hand in, it's not too tight, just to check. You don't want this section overlapping, so fitting just loosely like that. That type of position is ideal. Under the arm here, it's wrapping around, but is very firm, but very supportive. So this is called the Continental Easy Access Sling. Let me check, see if there's any questions on this. Alice, do we have any questions I need to address?
No, none so far.
Got one more. I'm hoping you're still with me and we have time to see one more style. We've tried to cover various scenarios for you, but our last sling is one that we have often supplied for the most challenging situations, when you have someone that's very active and escapes out of everything. So we have our Tinkham. Let's put it on here. So the Tinkham sling is very interesting, and it was developed for a youngster who did escape out of everything. So we came up with this to help contain him and to help sort of try and prevent that extension. So we have got a sling that helps to bring the shoulders into protraction, keep the head forward, and keep the hips flexed to help prevent that. So all this together works really well, but it does look complicated. And I encourage you just to have a look at the website for more information, and you would need to apply it on the bed. Although you can get it on the chair, which I will do with Judith, but it's probably easier on a bed. There is a divided section, divided leg, that needs to slot in. Not going too far down, so just as far as you can. And the guide is to get this waist support in position. So it's a waist support here. Let's make sure it's low enough. And then once you've got that there, click buckle. So that will help with positioning. So you know you've got that in the right place. The leg sections have the slip fit on both sides to help with inserting. Let's just put the legs round both sides. We've got that, so there. Let's zoom in so we can see the legs more clearly. So just recap. We've positioned the sling, we've got the waist support, we've got the legs pulled through either side, and then we've got a modesty strap that goes across the width of the leg there. But this is to help keep the legs together. We're trying to keep everything together, and then there's a further one at the top. So making every possible help with keeping those legs together. We've done the legs. The hip tapes, there's 2 hip tapes. And this is when they're adjusted properly, they're going to keep the hips flexed. So you may have to have them slightly asymmetrical, and I'll explain that in a moment. Then working up, we've got the shoulder and then the head. But let's just zoom back out and I will put it on the waist. Okay, so building up from the bottom, let's do the legs. Going to go on a green leg, I think. 2 hip tapes. They're on loops. And they've got sliders, which we can adjust if needed. And you've got the shoulder. shoulders there. Hold it before you don't it to knock you. And then I'll put the head support on in a moment, but let me just take up the slack and we just slowly see what's occurring here. Right, let's just check it. So we've got the 2 hip tapes here, legs are sorted. Right, let's just lower that one. Got the head support and the shoulders, and then the head support I haven't put on yet because I can do that after. So let's just go up a bit more. Okay. Get your arms around your waist. So we'll just see now. We've got I said it was complicated, but let me just explain again. We've put it on like a standard sling. It's come through the legs. We thread it through the modesty, 2 modesties, which are red to help you. Then you've got 2 hip tapes. So hip tapes, they are on sliders, and you may need to have the lower hip tape shorter. You want to try and keep the hips flexed, which means this higher hip tape at the hip may need to be longer. If it's too short, it will help to force the pelvis forward, and that's what create the extension or the help with it. Then going up, we've got the shoulders, and then this is the head support. Now, we can leave it if you don't need it, but there are lots of options to keep the head tight. Just put it on the tightest so that it will keep the head forward. And there is a nice little soft neck roll in the back. And you might find when you're putting it on that soft neck roll starts at the shoulders, which is fine, because what happens is as you hoist up, the fabric stretch around, and then the head support or the neck roll here will nestle within the neck as the fabric then stretches. So, just bear with that. If you think it's too low, it will ride up. The head support's got a little pocket here. Judy, you put your head into this pocket on this. So if you've got someone that's twisting, tries to get out there, put that on the left. Then you've got a pocket to help prevent that. But let's just turn around. You can see, so if Judith extends and twists, so this type of situation, she's very good at that. Can you corkscrew around? It will help. It will help to keep that person secure just for that transfer. So it is a good style, and I know it's addressed a lot of complicated scenarios, but it is complicated, as you say. And although we have some standard sizes, it's often better made custom or tailored to that person, so it fits perfectly. We tend to make it in the Superfine Plus, which is the spacer fabric. It's a bit more robust, less stretchy, so that it doesn't stretch too much. So it's usually in that mesh. There is also plenty of access. So if you need to do a hygiene transfer, there's plenty of access there if necessary. So that is the Tinkham. Any questions on that, Alice?
We just have one question. Do you still do silk slings? I have a client who can't tolerate sitting on the superfine fabric. He has significant scoliosis and moulded chair, also trying to fit as a single carer.
Okay, so yes, let me just talk about that. Is there anything with this Tinkham though?
Nothing relating to the Tinkham.
Okay. So I'll just load you with that. Originally, Silvalea used to make a moulded wheelchair sling, and it was moulded to the chair, and it would mirror image the body and the chair together, and we tailor it in the parasilk. It's a parasilk fabric. 2 layers, so it would help to prevent shearing. Works really well.
But as people were starting to use that in more standard seating, we found it was too slippy. So consequently, we introduced the Superfine and Superfine Plus. However, we can still do the Parasilk. So if you have a specific situation, just let us know. It is still available. It's not on the website because it's not so popular. It's a slippy fabric. There's lots of issues with slipping within that. And it also can cause some slight overheating because it's quite solid fabric. It's like the fabric that's on the leg sections, so you can picture that. But if you have one, an existing one, and you need to replace it, certainly we can talk to you about that. So absolutely fine. Just get in touch and we'll help you with that one. Any others?
No, no other questions.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope it's been helpful. It's just a snapshot of all the most popular things that I said we use for paediatrics. There are many, many more. Certainly have a look at the website. We do other training sessions on different topics, like in situ. We'd cover in more detail the leave-in slings. I think it's a hygiene sling session coming up. So, please have a look. We'll keep you posted. But thank you very much for your time. If you need any posters, then please let us know. Alice has got a question.
We've got a question. Can you use the neck roll with other sling manufacturers?
That's down to you. That's down to your risk assessment. They are an accessory. They are separate. So I'm sure they will work perfectly well, but you need to establish that. Any others?
No other questions.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to Judith and Alice for their help. And I hope to see you again soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Just very quickly, I will send an email out with the link to our YouTube channel as we have recorded today's session. I will also send out a form for some feedback. We do really appreciate any feedback you've got. It's a really nice way for us to know that these sessions are useful and that you're enjoying them. You also can be added to a draw to win a £100 Amazon voucher, which will be drawn in the next couple of days for this quarter. So any form completed, we do really appreciate. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Judith. It's been a great session.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.